Hello everyone and welcome to a most exciting game from round 2 of this year's Dubai Police Global Chess Challenge 2024. I've accidentally put 2024 twice, so sorry about that. Let me just fix this. I have no idea why it's called that. Like, if any of you can figure out why it's called that, make sure to share it with the rest of us in the comment section. And 3 rounds have already been played, but this is the game that really caught my attention. It's from round 2. Vladislav Artemiev. It's been a while since we've seen him on the channel against Adham Fawzy, Egyptian Grandmaster, who we've featured on the channel 3 times already, and in all 3 games that he was featured, some incredible chess was played. I will in fact put all of those 3 games in the description below. First 3 links will be those games. If you have time, do check them out. Some Tal-like moves were made there. And this game also does not disappoint. It's okay here. A part of this game is absolutely spectacular, and the other part maybe a bit slow, so I will skip the second part of the game because it's a fairly dull rook endgame. But the first part, where the action really happens, is something that we haven't seen so far. So let's check it out. Vladislav, with the white pieces, opens with pawn to e4, and here we have pawn to c5, the Sicilian defense. Now, to get a better understanding of what happened in this game, I would just like to show you a very quick game. It's a 7-move game that starts with black replying with e5. Now, if it usually happens when a player with the white pieces is a bit stronger and player with the black pieces is maybe a beginner, but let's say black plays d6, let's say knight to c3, maybe black got destroyed a couple of times by the knight coming to g5, so maybe black plays h6, white will play bishop to c4, and black will pin the knight with bishop to g4, feeling all good about himself, but then comes knight captures on e5. White overlooks the queen, and then after black captures the queen, black just gets checkmated with king e7 and knight to d5 checkmate. So you've either seen this checkmate from white's perspective or from black's perspective, but I'm pretty sure you have seen it. So that's something that happens quite often in chess, but it's very rare that you will see something like this happening at a grandmaster level. And here it kind of does happen, but through a much more complex move order. So here we have pawn to c5, the Sicilian defense, knight f3, we have knight to c6, and now not the standard d4 or my personal favorite pawn to b4, knight to c3. This is the close traditional line of the Sicilian defense. G6, we have bishop to c4, bishop to g7, and now castles kingside. We have pawn to a6 by Adham, and now rook to e1. We have pawn to b5, chasing away the bishop, and now there is a game where bishop to f1 was played, but here bishop to d5, a bit more ambitious approach by Vladislav, and it is now, as of move 7, that we have a completely new game. So previous game only 7 moves, this game 7 moves, completely new game. So okay, knight to f6, challenging the bishop on d5, and bishop captures on c6. It's very unusual to give up the bishop pair so early on, but okay, you do mess up black's pawn structure. So d captures, and now pawn to d3. Artemiev is much higher rated. He's a 2700 player, so he has to use obscure lines against lower rated players in order to get winning chances more easily. So, he has to create madness on the board, and he has to navigate that madness more precisely than his opponent. Bishop to g4, we have e5, challenging the knight, and now comes knight to d5. We have knight to e4, and okay, you might be thinking, why did Vladislav play this? What's the idea? Why is he giving up the e5 pawn? I mean, is there any compensation behind it? Okay, bishop captures on e5, and he plays pawn to c4. And you might be thinking, okay, this is all some sort of a crazy preparation, but no, both players are actually spending a lot of time. Both players are already down to 30 minutes in this position, and there's no preparation here. This is all action on the board. And here the knight is attacked. So what do you do here? The problem is there is only one move for black that doesn't lose, and Adham plays it. He plays knight to b4. And okay, again, you might be asking yourself, okay, I mean, knight captures on d3, obviously a threat. This is still not an issue. What is Artemiev even doing here? And here we see what he's doing. Knight captures on e5. He sacrifices the queen, like in the 7-move game that we've shown at the beginning of the video. But now, okay, I'm not going to show you what happens next, but look at the position. What if black captures the queen? Like, what is white? What does white have here? There are 2 knights in the middle of the board. What can you do with 2 knights in the middle of the board? Well, obviously, quite a lot. So bishop captures on d1 was played. It's the only move that black can play. And now, feel free to pause the video and try to find Vladislav's idea here while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this, well, spectacular idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is knight captures on c6, seemingly sacrificing more material after you just sacrificed your queen, but not really. The knight cannot be taken. And now the problem is the black queen is hanging. So what happens if you take the knight? Okay, knight captures, knight f6 check. The king cannot go to d7, covered by the knight. Also, you cannot take, the e-pawn is pinned. Your only move is king f8, and then all of a sudden bishop to h6 checkmate. So that is Vladislav's idea. So after knight captures on c6, you get White's idea. White doesn't care about the queen. White doesn't care about the knight. White doesn't care about anything. White wants to play knight to f6 check and checkmate the black king. So the only move for Adham is pawn to f5. You have to create some breathing room for the king on f7. So f5 attacks the knight, and now Vladislav just takes the queen. Knight captures on d8. We have rook captures on d8, and now knight captures on c5. Okay, knight to c2, forking the two rooks. Rook captures on d1, and knight captures on a1. And now, okay, once the dust's settled, the knight is on a1, the bishop will obviously move, you will take the knight, and you will have rook, bishop, and knight for the two rooks. So can white win this? Let's see what happens next. C captures on b5. With 20 minutes on the clock, Artemiev does not find the most precise way to continue. The most precise way is c captures on b5, but you have to prepare it. You have to play knight to e6 first. I will just show it because it's very nice. Point being that now after you move, okay, you could also move the rook to d6, but it doesn't do all that much. Then the knight to c7 check comes, then bishop to f4, and you're just in time to pick up the knight. So here probably rook d7, and then you take on b5, but now you cannot take back. That's the big difference, because if you take back now, again bishop to f4 goes after the knight, and once you play knight to c2, there's rook c1, attacks the knight, and of course there's no way to defend it. You don't have rook to c7, the knight covers that, and if you try something like knight to d4, then comes the real idea. Knight captures on d4, rook captures, and bishop to e5, and white wins the game. So that was the improvement that Vladislav needed here. So first knight to e6, and then c captures on b5. But he captures on b5 right away, and he allowed Adham back into the game. A captures on b5, and now rook to d2. Now the same idea no longer works, because you can just play rook to c8, and now after bishop to f4, the c2 square is already guarded. There's no point in playing rook to c1, the knight is defended. So after a captures on b5, rook to d2, a bit of a different way, but now Vladislav wants to capture the knight with b3, bishop to b2, and then bishop captures on a1. So pawn to b4, if b4 is allowed, then it's going to be much more difficult to play this, but after b4, now it's actually Adham who's pushing this position. We have pawn to b3, rook to d5, going after the knight, and again shifting the advantage to Vladislav's way. Castling here would have been a more solid approach. We have knight to a4, and now king to f7. Bishop to b2 goes after the knight, and now rook h to d8, saying, okay, you can take the knight, I'm going to take the d3 pawn. But no, Vladislav doesn't allow it, and now knight captures on b3. Okay, we always knew that the knight will not be able to survive this. A captures, and now pawn to e5. And Vladislav's position is winning now, but he has 3 minutes on the clock. Adham has 1 minute on the clock. So let's see how he handles this. Knight to b6. Okay, attacks the rook. Rook attacks the knight. Knight to c4 attacks the rook. Rook back to d5, and now knight to e3 attacking the rook. Of course, you cannot take just rook captures, and then the rook on d2 would hang. So knight to e3 again attacking the rook. Rook to d6, and now knight to c2 just defending here. We have e captures on d4, and now you can play pretty much any move here, like rook to d3. You block the pawn. You play f4. You play g3. All of these moves are fine and will maintain a winning position for Vladislav. But he played knight captures on d4 right away, and here he allows a very nice drawing mechanism for Adham. So feel free to spot the move here. The only idea that draws the game for Adham, while I give you a couple of seconds. Congratulations on finding it, as I imagine all of you found it. It's either rook to a6 or rook to a8. That's the idea, and the point is the weakness of the white king. In the game, rook to a6 was played, and now the problem is, okay, how do you defend? If you play knight to f3, which seems like something you can do, the rook is defended. Rook captures, knight captures, and now just a nice rook to d6. And you can't really move the knight because rook to d1 will be a problem. And even if you try something like knight to f3, it doesn't doesn't help. Just rook to d1 check, 91, and then rook captures, it will be checkmate. So what you will have to do is play bishop to c1, but now rook a6 goes after the bishop. And again, you're not going to be able to defend this unless you play bishop to b2, and then black just repeats. Rook d6, bishop c1, rook to a6, and so on and so on. We will have a draw by threefold repetition. But here, okay, king to f1 was tried, and now comes rook to a2, going after the bishop, king to e2, and now again a very simple equalizing idea. Rook captures on b2, rook captures, and rook captures on d4. And from all of that madness, we have sort of an elementary rook and pawn endgame, 4 pawns each, 3 pawns on the king side each, 1 pawn on the queen side each. And this is, you know, with some, well, you don't even have to be a spectacular player to play this. You will get a draw here, as you know, we like to say on this channel. Even your uncle gets a draw here. But okay, 30 more moves were played in this game. I will not explain all of them, as they are, you know, it's a rook and pawn endgame. But I will show you the final position, because it's also quite nice. So here we have this position where black rook sacrificed itself for the pawn on b7. So captures, and now g3. So how do you evaluate this? You have 2 pawns already far advanced against this 1 pawn and a rook. And here Vladislav, of course, not interested in a draw. He still wants to fight for the win. He plays pawn to h4, and now for those of you who are new to chess, I imagine this will be very interesting for you. h5, g2, h6, g1 queen. Okay, the rook has to take, and now h7. We have f3, h8 queen, and now pawn to f2. And look at this position. White has a queen, black doesn't, and it's white to move. Can white stop the black pawn from queening? The answer is no. The reason for that is, and I mentioned this like maybe once every few months, is that if you have these pawns, like it's a queen versus king and pawn, and you have these pawns, it's a draw. On the other hand, if you have, okay, let's use the green color, a bit more assuring, and if you have the b, d, e, or g pawn, then your position will be winning. And it's very easy to see why, and of course it will be demonstrated right away. So here queen to d4 was played, and now just a nice king to h1. Usually you will have to defend the pawn with something like king to f1 or king to g2, but not when it's an f pawn. When it's an f pawn, you just move the king to the corner and you don't care. And next move you're queening, or white captures it, and then it's stalemate. So that's also one of the reasons why the f pawn and the c pawn are a draw. There are spectacular positions where it's not a draw, but white king has to be much closer to the action, of course. So king to h1, Artemiev played a few more moves to see if you know, Adham knows what he's doing, but he showed that he of course knows, and in the end we had a draw by stalemate here on move 65. So yeah, pretty incredible game, especially that beautiful idea here of bit closer of knight captures on e5. I've seen the move many times, but not in this particular setup, and I hope you guys thought this was well worth showing. But also this, you know, not everyone will know that the c pawn is a draw. This one time, you know, could be some 10 years ago, I played against maybe even more than that, maybe even like 13 years ago. I was like maybe rated 1600, and my opponent was a candidate master, maybe 2200, and we reached this position, and he actually didn't know that this is a forced draw. He knew that the A and H pawn are a draw, but he did not know that the C and F pawn are a draw. You know, it just escaped his attention, and you know, he was trying to win this by force, and then during the game he realized that he does not have a winning position, and the only reason he traded down into this because he was sure he was winning. His position was winning pretty much the entire game, but I was persistent, and you know, he actually traded down into this, and he, you know, in the game he realized the horror of what he has done with the position, and you know, you could just see it in his eyes. He was, you know, very sad. But I got a draw against a candidate master, and I was very happy about that, because I of course knew the rule about the C and F pawn. So, you know, hope it helps you too, and hope you trick many candidate masters, or maybe even stronger players. As you can see here, even Artemiev tried, you know, against Adham. You know, he played a few more moves just to check. Maybe he doesn't know, but of course he knew. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nice game from round 2 of the Dubai Police Global Chess Challenge 2024. Like I said, if you have any idea why it's called that, maybe the police of Dubai is sponsoring the event with a $125,000 prize fund. But again, could be many other reasons. So, you know, If you know, share with everyone. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Michael Hildebrand, Johan Hoibai, Lorenzo Tessiore, Fred Ackerman, and Chess Legend for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon. Continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions, but also whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.